gets me every time.
Hey guys, had some questions recently from a member on a forum that I run about the Hyosung GV650 and specifically removing a passenger backrest underneath the seat. Unfortunately, the one that I've got here was completely submerged during the Hurricane Harvey flood, but as I don't have the rear fender on the subframe, this gives me a perfect kind of example that I don't have to take apart to show you exactly how this thing goes together. Now normally you would have this rear fender, usually sticks out to about here, and you can see here this is the rear mounting point for the seat under normal conditions. Got the battery box there. I don't have this on my subframe. What I've done on this one, on the back of the seat here, we flipped the little mounting bracket backwards and drilled a hole on the rear subframe so that bolt could go through there and we could attach it without having a piece sticking out on the back of the seat. Allowed us to cut the subframe down a little bit. But one of the things that I mentioned on the forum with a picture of this fender, so you have 3 through holes here. So what you typically have on the outside of your fender underneath the seat is a big chrome trim piece. This is right here. You can actually kind of see where this one rubbed a little bit while it was on here after that was painted black. See where these holes match up on the subframe here? The front hole on this fender actually fits on the inside of the frame here. Kind of hard to see in there. Basically, this fender pops over the little upset boss on the subframe here. And then this, the mounting boss that you see right here on the inside of the shock is actually attached to the frame of the bike. That's where your shock is going to mount. So on the subframe, typically it's assembled subframe inside of the fender. The whole thing bolts on. And what you've got is a couple of mounting bolts at this point underneath the seat. So you'll have 2 bolts running through there, attaching the rear subframe, and then the shock mounting points. So those are the 4 bolts that hold on that rear subframe. So normally when you have this chrome trim piece on here, to attach or detach a small luggage rack that would sit back here or the passenger backrest, typically that'll kind of slot into this front bolt and then have another hole here. So you'd have 2 bolts running through the back side, and then that chrome trim piece is actually threaded on the inside so that all the bolts are completely hidden once it's bolted together. So to remove a passenger backrest, what you would want to do is come inside your rear subframe here. And this is about stock height. You can see there should be plenty of room to get up in there with a wrench or something. I believe it's a 14mm head on these 2 bolts. But from the inside, you'll want to loosen both of these until you can remove them. That chrome trim piece will come off. You do that on both sides. And then any passenger backrest that you have on there should pop right off. If you have a luggage rack, that should come off as well. There's no real need to remove the seat, but if you do, there should be 1 bolt at the back of the seat. Once that pops off, you should be able to just slide the seat back and it will come off. You can kind of see on the inside here. Ignore those holes, those are something I added kind of secondary, but you can see here normal mounting points for the subframe are here on this cross brace, and you have your battery box, and then of course your mounting bolts for the shocks. If for some reason you need to remove the subframe or you need to remove these bolts, what you'll need to do is get a jack of some sort. And what I usually use is an ATV jack. I've got actually a couple of Craftsman ATV jacks. You You may need to use a spacer. I like to use 2x4s or something so that you're not putting pressure on the drain bolt on the bottom of the engine or anything. But you'll want to slide that under, raise the bike up with the jack just enough to remove the tension on the rear shocks. Once the tension is removed, and you'll notice when it's sitting on the ground there is a little bit of compression on the springs. So when you get it just enough to relieve that tension, your back wheel will start to lose pressure between it and the ground. If you jack it up just high enough, you'll be able to start spinning the wheel, assuming it's in neutral. And you know you've got plenty, or you've got all the preload off of your shocks. At that point, you can simply loosen the nut here, pop the bolt out on the inside, and that shock will be completely loose. If you jack up the bike so that there's no pre-tension on the coils, there's no reason that you should have to worry about them popping off or anything. This is all a self-contained unit. Just release the weight of the bike off of it. You've got a bolt here and a bolt here. I hope that's a decent explanation to answer the question. If you guys have any other questions about this bike, let me know. I've had a pretty thorough experience with it, stripping it down to the bare frame, building them back up. In fact, I've got, probably see, got a couple of bare frames over here, projects that will be popping up at some point or the other. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Got a couple of front ends there. Got this one that's all together. Got another one on my bike lift in the back that I think I showed in a previous video. So, if you have any questions you want answered, let me know. I will do my best to kind of walk through it. But it's a part that I've actually got put together even better because I can unbolt it here. I ditched those parts a long time ago. So, anyway, hope this is helpful. Talk to you guys later.